Hey everybody, welcome to Truman Tech Breaks. I'm Thomas, and today we're going to be talking about Gmail and just go over some basic best practices for while we're on Gmail for the brief time that we're between Exchange and Office 365. Now, one thing that I wanted to quickly address really fast is that though we're not currently on the previous Exchange that we were on before, when we're on Gmail and when we're eventually on Office 365, your at truman.edu email address is still what we're using. When we talk about, Gmail and Office 365, that's more the client that we're using to access your at truman.edu. So you will not be getting a new email address during this process. So yeah, so let's take a look at my Gmail here. So the way that I've got it set up shouldn't look too unfamiliar to those of you that have used Exchange in the past. There's a couple new things, and I'll kind of talk about some of the features here. In this left column, in the left sidebar here, there's a couple options that you may find useful. Chat is kind of a useful tool that we use on our team sometimes that lets you kind of directly chat, almost kind of like a Facebook Messenger, as opposed to using email itself to communicate with your team. Um, and there is a mobile app for that as well. And then Meet is just kind of a nice alternative to Zoom if you wanted to use that sometimes on your team as well. And then in this sidebar over here, Compose is obviously, if we click on that, that will be how we can compose an email to send to somebody. Now, just a quick pointer we had whenever you're composing an email, if you go to hit compose and you've got your little message here, I can click on this arrow for full screen and it'll take me, it'll just, make my email bigger here, kind of put it in the middle of the screen. If you don't like that though, let's go back here. If you don't like that and you don't like how it's kind of docked in the screen, you want it to be separate, I can hold down the shift key as I click this arrow to expand and it's actually going to give me a message that I can take wherever I want and is not docked to the screen that I am in. And that can just kind of make it easier to keep your screen free so you can refer to older emails as you're typing up your new correspondence. We can drop down here to more. A couple things here that I do want to highlight first is all mail. You can click on that to access all of your inboxes. That will be important later. We'll kind of revisit that later in the video. Spam is also a good thing to keep your eye on, just in that Gmail may be a little overzealous in its spam bots as well. So, like we had in our previous Barracuda video, which I'll go ahead and throw up on a ribbon at the top of the screen right now, if you want to check that out. We'll want to keep an eye both on our inbox, spam, and Barracuda for the time being, and closely monitor those to make sure we're not missing anything. And then, of course, I've got my inbox taking up kind of the main body of the page over here. One thing to be aware of, a difference between Exchange and Gmail is the way that threads are handled. So in Exchange, if you got an email from someone and then you emailed them back and then they emailed you back, you would get a separate email every time something came into your inbox. In Gmail, everything is just added to the same thread. So you're still getting all your email. They're just kind of collected in a different way. Probably the main way that that may affect you is in deleting email. If you delete the thread, then you'll have deleted every instance of that thread in your inbox until you go back to your trash and retrieve it, or if someone else emails you back in the same thread. Now, right now, I have a pretty simple setup for my inbox, but I do want to show you something because we've noticed on our team that for whatever reason, Gmail is set up a little bit differently between a couple of us, and it seems to have been that way just from the get-go. So what I would suggest is to simplify it as much as possible. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. If I go to settings and click on this cog up here and go to see all settings, then I go to inbox, you'll see that I have these categories listed here. Primary is checked by default. You cannot uncheck that. But then there's also another couple things like promotions, that's stuff like just marketing emails. And you can see kind of when I hover over it, it'll give you kind of a description of what these categories are. Social will be just, email from Facebook, that kind of thing. Updates is going to be, if you've got bills, receipts, that kind of thing. And forums is intended to be messages from online groups. I know in IT we have a lot of different lists that we're part of, and Google would try to sort those out to there. And that's how it's supposed to work. Ideally, Google would kind of use its algorithm to sort your mail into these categories if you had them enabled. We found that it doesn't work quite as well as it is intended. So for instance, if you see on promotions here, yes, it's going to take some of the things that would be viewed as promotions and sort them into its own little separate category. But it's also taking some correspondence from Amy Noonan and Aidan Cannon on my own team that I really don't want to be in that category. I'd rather that they actually go into my primary inbox. So let me show you first kind of what these categories look like when they're enabled. I'm just going to click on all of them. And then, of course, I'm going to have to save changes or it won't take effect. And then I've got these tabs here that Google is going to start sorting my mail into. So if I go to promotions, for instance, you can see that it's taken some of the things there. In this case, it's done a good job. It's kind of gotten those marketing emails away from my primary inbox. But like I said, I would suggest making things as simple as possible for yourself and not um, with us having to check, not only Barracuda, but the spam inbox as well. Personally, I think that it's a lot easier to not have to deal with all of these tabs. So I'm going to uncheck them and save it. Um, and there we go. Now I've got everything back in one inbox again. And I do want to be clear that by unchecking all of those, I'm not missing out on those emails. They're just going to my primary inbox now. So yeah, so that is how you either enable or disable categories. Again, you're welcome to have whatever categories you wish selected. I would personally suggest just using the primary inbox, but that's just me. And also remember earlier that I had mentioned about this all mail option. If you do select all mail, that will give you all of the mail, including all of the stuff in each of the categories too. So if you do decide to use categories, but want to try to streamline things as much as possible within those parameters, that's an option for you too, where you can just hit all mail and it'll give you everything that you need. And be aware that for whatever reason, it seems like you may already have some of these enabled. So be mindful of that. If you are not interested, you can go in and disable them as well. All right. Well, that's just a brief overview of Gmail. Keep an eye out. ITS will have some more correspondence coming in the next couple of weeks on more information about Gmail if you're interested. And then, of course, Office 365 is coming. So we will be reaching out about that as well with some documentation once that's available. Team is also keeping a running list of some of the vital systems on campus. So stuff like internet, email, Blackboard, and even some other things like Form Builder, and the current status of what those are after our cybersecurity event last week. So please refer to that. I'll go ahead and put the link in the description below. And yeah, please refer to that for the official status of what those systems are currently running at. And of course, if you notice any discrepancies in there, let us know and we'll take care of it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.